Thank you, and I know that there's been a lot of discussion and will continue to be about the Rice's well issue. But I've heard from many of my constituents on how the rushed and totally unjustified proposed rule from the National Marine Fisheries Services could affect their jobs. The ramifications would extend to serious issues in the supply chain, the economy, energy production, and national security. Ms. Coit, I want to talk about the vessel restrictions. I know that you had given an answer earlier on why just oil and gas was targeted. Can you say that again? I'm not sure I quite understood that answer.
Thanks, Senator, and thank you for the question. And if you'll bear with me, there's a proposed rule for proposed critical habitat. That is out for public comment right now. That does not involve vessel speed restrictions.
So has that public comment period ended, though?
The public, no, it has not ended. The way it went out for in June, or it went out this summer for public comment, and we are in the public comment period.
Okay, continue, please.
Let me make sure that's correct. Maybe I think let me just double check that. But it went out this summer for public comment. That is for critical habitat. It does not involve a vessel speed restriction. We have a petition in front of us for a broad vessel speed restriction that we have not acted upon yet, but I expect to act on soon. And then I believe what you're referring to is the outcome of our consultation with BOEM and Bessie that did impose a vessel speed restriction on the oil and gas industry as part of the reasonable and prudent alternatives that were included to reduce mortality to endangered Rice's whales.
So you're saying prudent and reasonable. Do the oil and gas ships do more damage than any other vessel?
It's under the Endangered Species Act, we are consulting with agencies around their plans. This was a consultation around the oil and gas program, and that is what we are working on in terms of the activities that we're advising on. And so vessel strikes we know to be one of the risk factors for endangered Rice's whales, and that is why that vessel speed restriction. I might also add that they spend a lot of time at the surface at night, so there's also a restriction except for safety at transit during the dark times.
Does your agency plan to restrict any other vessels, or you're just going to stay there? Does it plan to apply restrictive mitigation requirements to vessels beyond the oil and gas industry? Is that in the making, or you're just going to stick with oil and gas?
In regard to the Endangered Species Act, we consult around agency actions, and that would be true in terms of the proposed critical habitat. We do have a petition in front of us to broaden those vessel speed restrictions that we expect to act on soon, and so as soon as we do, I'll make sure that we get in touch.
Okay, and if you do that, if that happens, how do you plan to analyze the economic impacts to such mitigations? Is there a plan to, are you just strictly looking at one thing, or are you looking at the bigger picture of the possible economic impacts?
So if we acted, for the petition in front of us, if we acted to deny it, there would be no further action. If we approved it, we would go out with a proposed rule that would analyze economic impacts and where we would invite public comment.
Okay, and regarding critical habitat designations for endangered species, is it normal business for your agency to rely on unpublished reports that haven't been finalized as the basis for such impactful determinations?
Thank you for that question. For the proposed rule on critical habitat for Rice's whale, we relied on many peer-reviewed reports. You're referring to one report that is not yet published. However, all of the information, the model, the technical information has already appeared in published reports. So the information we're relying on is something that is available to the public to comment on.
Are any of the peer reviewers directly employed by NMFS?
Thank you for that question. I would have to get back to you. Our employees are part of many of the published studies, including the one I just referenced, and I'm not, I would have to get back to you in terms of the peer review process. and whether we're participating in that for the various studies we're relying on.
Okay, I would really like that answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Before we adjourn,